If you want to be world class at anything, if you want to change the world, then you first need to master yourself. If you have this information, if you use this information, you're going to have a huge advantage in your life. In fact, there are 6 levels that you're going to need to work on and improve at. The levels are survival, will, expression, purpose, wisdom, and actualization. I'm going to go through each of these levels and give you specific practical advice on how to improve yourself through the lens of each of these stages. I didn't just randomly come up with these 6 stages myself. They are a synthesis of many different systems of self mastery that have existed through all of mankind. The oldest is probably the chakra system in Eastern religion and philosophy. The most popular might be Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Here's a list of some other ones. So there's integral theory, the hero's journey, Erik Erikson's stages of development, spiral dynamics, and the list goes on and on. My goal is to save you years of time by giving you a map for your journey. The first level is survival. It's not about physically actually surviving. A lot of it is about early childhood and your primitive instincts. This level is maybe the hardest level to actually master because it involves these deep embedded emotions and beliefs. One of my personal issues perfectly illustrates like how difficult it is to deal with this level and why it's so important. When I was young, I had an unstable childhood. I moved around a lot. My family was like not very stable. To deal with this, I developed a people pleasing type of personality. I wanted everything to be good with people. I was scared of pissing people off, basically. Even to this day, as an adult, I struggle with this issue. I want to not have that much conflict. I don't like conflict. And basically, yeah, I don't want people to think negatively of me. All of this stems from my childhood and my childhood conditioning. And to get over this, I first needed to realize where it came from. And I needed to do this next step. I'm not Christian, but I appreciate a lot of the knowledge in the Bible. And one of the verses in the Bible basically gives you the answer to how to deal with these issues. It's from John 1:5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. In fact, a lot of psychology and therapy is based on this principle. If you shine a light on your shadows, the darkness in you, these like learned negative patterns, if you basically realize where they come from, they disappear. You need to figure out why you have anxiety all the time, why you are a people pleaser, why you have these like kind of negative behaviors that seemingly come from nowhere, but they don't come from nowhere. They come from sources. Once you do start to correct your behavior, remembering that the source of them came from certain conditioning, certain ways in which you were raised, they will eventually disappear. The topic of your shadow and all of these like behaviors that come from your past, it's a very deep subject, and I'll probably get into it more in the future, but let's start moving on. The second area, this level that's the most important, is dealing with your primitive instincts. And what do I mean by that? Primitive instincts are kind of like your animal instincts, like lust, greed, aggression, anger, all of those that we just inherently have in ourselves from when we were born. And you need to realize that these behaviors are not serving you and to try and counter them. This is very tricky because some of these emotions and behaviors are useful at certain times, but a lot of the times you're not in control of them. Just knowing that they come from this very primordial aspect of your personality and knowing how much damage they can do to your life will help you control them. A good example of this is Andrew Huberman and how he had a podcast about how alcohol was so bad for you. And I've seen so many people just quit alcohol because he basically very vividly showed everyone how dangerous and, damaging alcohol can be to you. And whether you believe this or not, the people who did believe this just instantly quit alcohol. So you basically have to do the same thing to yourself. You have to just realize these primitive instincts like lust, they like too much lust. They are very negative, and it's good to read about them and to really understand how bad they are for you. It's also good to listen to other people's stories to really understand that these things are going to mess up your life. And once you do, you can drop them almost instantly. 90% of people are not going to advance in this level at all. They're going to live their whole lives with their unconscious behaviors, emotions, desires dictating the course of their life. I don't think this will happen to you. Just knowing this information gives you a huge advantage. If you do master this level, you can live somewhat of a happy and contented life. It'll be way better than everyone else, but I'm assuming you want more. So let's move on to the next level. The second level is will. It's what self-improvement almost exclusively focuses on. It's about discipline, motivation, willpower, essentially. What you'll find is that if you don't make improvements on the first level, it's going to be very difficult to advance in this level. If you have all of this anxiety, all of these strange behaviors that you can't explain, they're going to affect your ability to be disciplined and to be, to have willpower. And this is a lot of what self-improvement misses, is that you have to dig deeper into yourself to first clear out all of these cobwebs from the first level until you advance to this level. To improve your will, you need to set goals. Will loves goals. I'm sure you know this. Set a goal, work on it, and this will give you a framework to improve your discipline, your patience, and your motivation. You just got to remember that this is one of the levels, and if you get stuck here, you can be somewhat happy. You can be happy because other people see you in a certain way, but in the end, it's not going to be that fulfilling. So you need to move on to the next level. The third level is expression. This is where you get into using the tools and developing the tools that will change the world and change your environment. So essentially creating, communication, teaching. So many people go directly to this level, trying to develop the tools and the skills to, accomplish what they want to accomplish without having the means to do it, without working on the previous two levels. I went to film school a long time ago, and I immediately did this. I started working on the craft of film and of writing, and I got good at it. I improved at it. But because I was lacking in the first two levels, I was never actually really able to fulfill my full potential. I would get lazy. I would be scared. I wouldn't take chances. And this really affected my career. I still got pretty far, but I could have gotten way, way farther. The key to getting better at this level is relaxation. Sounds weird, right? But you need to become calm, get into flow states. I think that's why flow states have become so popular, or the idea of flow has become so popular, because this is the way to master this level. You need to drop all of the negative thinking, all of the anxiety, just relax. Let things flow, let creativity flow, let communication flow. The more you do this, the better you'll get at it. A good tool to use to develop this is Morning Pages by Julia Cameron. You can read the book. It's basically where you write 3 pages every morning and just let things flow stream of conscious style. This helps you get rid of all of these limiting beliefs and thoughts, and it allows you to just flow. Developing these trades, these skills, using creativity in whatever you're doing is very helpful and will get you far, but it will only get you to a certain point. You need to move on to the next level. The fourth level is purpose. That's what I'm calling it. This level is very interesting because, in my opinion, it's the only one that stands on its own. You don't really need to do anything in the other levels. You could start here. And in fact, this level helps with all the other ones. Another name that this level could have been called is love, basically. And there's this idea with guys that love is cringy. It's kind of hard to express your love. It's how we've been raised. It's evolutionarily probably ingrained in us. But this level, it's all about that. Purpose is about finding your pursuit, falling in love with your pursuit, having a passion for it, wanting to help other people, having a love for humanity. And to accomplish all this, you need to love life, be very present, appreciate the small things, have gratitude, basically. For some people, this is going to be easier than others. Like if your heart is just open, if you're an open person, this will come very naturally to you. You probably still will need to work on being present in everyday life because the previous levels affect this, especially the first level. I do find it very difficult and it's been a journey, and I'm still on the journey of opening myself up to just appreciating the world and especially appreciating and loving people. If you can relate to this, it's something you really need to work on. Trust me, it's going to help you with all the other levels. The fifth level is wisdom. Wisdom is not really about book learning wisdom that you get, from reading philosophers or anything like that, although that helps. This type of wisdom, when you get to this stage, is more metaphysical. It's about understanding the nature of reality. Ancient texts, especially like the Bhagavad Gita, give this advice. To really master this fifth level, you need to meditate, worship, worship gods or the source of everything. And also, you need to live righteously, do good deeds, live in a monastic type of way. So, in fact, yeah, this is kind of like when you're a monk, how we live, if you're living like in a city or even a small town, everything is not set up to advance at this level. Most people who are working on this level are probably in like a monastery or living alone in the forest somewhere, actually. But just so you know, like if you're interested in this level, if you ever get to this level, it's probably going to require basically becoming very monk like. The last stage is actualization. This is when all the other stages are integrated. You've mastered all these other levels and they've become a part of you. And this is when, if you are living in a monastery, if you are living in the forest, you leave. You no longer need to be a monk or anything. You go back to normal living, I would assume. This would be like in the hero's journey, the return home. From an outsider's perspective, if you saw someone who has mastered all the levels, they would look very similar to someone before stage one. So basically, they would be very childlike. They would be a walking contradiction, essentially. They would be childlike, but also contain a huge amount of wisdom. Good examples of this, well, they're not real examples, but Yoda in Star Wars seems like this is what they were going for, how he was kind of silly and very childlike, but had all this wisdom. Yoda was actually inspired by Don Juan from Carlos Castaneda's books. He was very, goofy, kind of a trickster, jester, but then had this deep knowledge. From the outside, looking at these people, they almost look like fools to, regular people. So when you're finished with your journey, I mean, I guess that's what you're looking forward to becoming a walking contradiction, a fool and a wise man. Like I said, though, 99.9999999% of people will never make it here. Maybe you will, though. So let's see. My practical advice for everybody is to work on the first four levels. Master your emotions, have discipline in your life, create and flow, open yourself up to the world, have a purpose, love others, help others. If you do these four things, if you work on these four areas, you're going to accomplish pretty much any goal you have. Good luck on your journey. I know you can do it, and I'll see you all next time.